So it's the start of a new year, and around this time of year, people are thinking about retirement. And one of the biggest questions in retirement is when should you draw Social Security? And despite what YouTube or some of these influencers might tell you, there's not a one size fits all solution to this problem. I'm Terrell Higgins, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the framework of how you should be thinking about when to draw Social Security and what will optimize it for your specific situation. Let's get into it. So, the first thing you have to understand is that Social Security is a cornerstone of most people's retirement planning. A lot of people don't necessarily plan ahead and think through how much money they're going to need in retirement or have the correct saving habits that they can fully fund their retirement without the Social Security program. And even if you did plan ahead, Social Security adjusts with inflation each year and it pays out based on how much you've paid into it across the top 35 highest earning years in your career. So with all that said, that recurring consistent payment from Social Security is something that most people depend on to make it through retirement. And there's really three different dates that you have to consider when you're drawing Social Security. So you have early withdrawal of Social Security, which is age 62. And if you withdraw at age 62, you're only going to get about 70% of your benefit. And then if you wait till full retirement age, so if you were born after 1960, which I imagine most people watching this video are, full retirement age for you is age 67. That's where you will get 100% of your benefit. And then you have the full benefit, which is you wait to age 70. And at that point, you would get 124% of your full benefit. So when most people are trying to think through their decision of when they're going to actually withdraw Social Security, it's either early, full retirement age, or waiting for the full benefit. And I'm going to give you a framework to actually think through this. So from that early retirement age to full retirement age, your benefit is going to go up by about 0.5% for each month before full retirement age. And the framework I like to use is lifts. So we need to look at longevity, income, your family history, the tax implications of it, and the security of your overall portfolio. So let's break down each one. So if you don't draw Social Security and then you die, you know you waited too long, right? You're supposed to withdraw Social Security and retire, enjoy your retirement before you die. It's pretty simple. You know when it's too late. You don't necessarily know when it's too early. But if you know that in your family you don't have a long history of longevity, you don't expect that you're going to live into your late 80s, early 90s, and most of the people in your family are checking out in their early 70s or late 60s, then waiting to age 70 for the full benefit probably doesn't make any sense. So you have to look at your particular family health history and see if longevity says that you have the potential to even wait. Because if your health doesn't support, then it still might make sense to draw early, regardless of the other factors here. So then you have to think about the income gap. So if you're waiting to draw your Social Security benefit to that full benefit age of 70, you need some money to bridge the gap from when you retire to actually withdrawing Social Security. Unless you plan to work all the way up to age 70, most people are going to retire sometime in their early 60s or mid 60s. So you're going to have some sort of 401k balance or some sort of additional savings or other income coming in from a pension or an investment property to bridge the gap from when you retire to the point that you plan to draw your Social Security. So if you don't have any other income coming in, then it might make sense to draw Social Security to bridge that income gap based on your other savings and other income. Then you have to think about family. So a lot of people are married, and when you draw Social Security and when your spouse draws Social Security is a joint decision. The general framework that I like to think through if you have a spouse is that the spouse that makes the most money should delay to full benefit age of 70. And the reason for that is if you delay to 70, you get the maximum possible benefit. And if you pass away, the highest benefit between you and your spouse will go to the surviving spouse. Now, if the surviving spouse is substantially younger than you are, they're going to have to wait to their actual Social Security retirement age to draw that benefit, but they still have access to that higher spouse limit when they actually retire. The other thing to consider is if you and your spouse have children. So if you are drawing Social Security and you have a child that's under 16, when you pass away, that benefit will go on to your spouse to take care of the child until they're age 16. So based on these family considerations, you need to think through who makes the most, are we going to be able to delay, and is my spouse going to be able to live within the means of our retirement with a maximized benefit from me? Because you don't get to draw both. Even if they're drawing theirs and you're drawing yours, if you pass away, they're just going to get the higher of the two. They're not going to keep drawing both. And then you have to think about tax implications. So say you were very responsible and you have a substantial traditional IRA or 401k balance, and you know by the time you start needing to take required minimum distributions in your 70s, that there's going to be significant tax bills associated with that. You can do some early tax planning in retirement and start doing Roth conversions all the way up to your full retirement age of 67 or the full benefit age of 70. So by not taking that Social Security income, it gives you space within the tax bracket that you're in all the way up to the transition to the next tax bracket where you can do Roth conversions and save yourself money later in retirement. So you need to look at your own personal portfolio and figure out when the Roth conversions make sense. And it's generally right after you retire, when your income is the lowest and before you start drawing Social Security. The best way to figure this out is using software. And the software that I personally like to use is Bolden. And I'll actually leave a link down below in the comments for you guys to check out. It's great software. It lets you model your Social Security payments, all your different accounts, any investment properties, any retirement goals you might have. You can stress test your retirement plans based on unexpected expenses. It's phenomenal for doing this retirement planning before you have to sit down with a professional to get a second opinion. And then there's just the security of Social Security itself. So if you're in a position where you don't have much savings, you don't have a bunch of other income coming in from a pension or investment properties, and you actually need that Social Security money to live off of, it actually might make sense to draw Social Security early. At that point, you need the money to live off of. So you might even consider drawing early at 62 just because you don't have any other options for how you're going to live in retirement. Obviously, if you can wait, you should wait. But if you're in that situation where you need the Social Security to actually keep you whole in retirement, you might consider adjusting the age that you actually retire to get closer to that full retirement age benefit. And then I don't have a crystal ball, but the Social Security Trust Fund is going to run out of money by 2033. Now, this doesn't mean that Social Security is going to go away. It just means that the benefit from Social Security is going to have to adjust. So if this trust fund runs out of money, the Social Security benefit has to come down by about 23%, or we need to adjust our payroll taxes up to refund that Social Security trust fund to maintain the full benefit. And in reality, it's probably going to be a mix of both. They'll probably do some adjustments to the payroll tax or do some adjustments to the inflation adjustments that happen each year with Social Security to try and continue funding at the full retirement amount, or they'll reduce the benefits slightly. But by 2033, it's very likely that you might take a 24% haircut on your Social Security benefits. So by waiting to 70, you might just end up getting the same benefit that you were expecting to maintain at age 67. So that's lifts. That's what's coming ahead for the Social Security program. And hopefully my lifts framework has given you a way to think through this decision for you and your family. It's one of the more complex decisions that people have to think through in retirement, and it is definitely not one size fits all. You have to evaluate your personal situation, and it even helps to model it with software like Bolden, which I said I'll leave a link to down below. If you got something out of today's video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone else who is thinking through their Social Security withdrawal age. Keep getting 1% better every day, and I'll catch you in the next video.